So you may have seen yesterday where there was a patch for preview which got a whole bunch of updates, particularly to Barbarian and increasing its damage. They also, to note, broke overpenetration. It has an extra 0 in there, providing essentially double your damage. So feel free to mess with that. And I don't think it'll be going live. It'll get fixed before then. And yes, just as I finished editing my video, and now I have to redo it, Overpen is getting updated to be something like this. It's actually going to give a 10% damage boost now instead of 5. And it's also going to scale off crit strike and crit severity. That's good news. You generally want them capped anyway. Also, Trample of the Fallen, they're most likely going to change the control power increase thing, where it should give like 10%. They're going to change it to increase your power's damage by 5% for 10 seconds. So that's whenever you use the control power, all your damage increased. That is actually a pretty big buff versus how it was. Only your control abilities would deal 10% more damage, but that was bugged and not working properly anyway. But there were also some other changes that I didn't cover. Brett Norton posted the partial patch notes, which is pretty much everything. And with that comes the new change to Enchanters Hex. So we get the second iteration in that. They're completely changing it. I'll cover more about that later on in the video. You can skip to the timestamp if that's all you want to check out. But there are also changes to Rogue, where they've increased some of its damage abilities, particularly some powers that you might not be using so much after especially the reworks. The Cleric's Channel Divinity actually got that change up to 75 per second when you channel it, so useful when you're like stuck in combat but you aren't able to hit anything to get divinity. You can channel that and get a lot more back. We have those fighter changes as we mentioned in the previous video, with the stats and basically an increase of like 5% extra stats. You can basically get 25% free stats. There was also a damage bonus, which I missed, for Fighter's Determination Daily. That's now 40%. And then as for the Barbarian, all of the changes are here again listed by the dev. And there's some pretty significant improvements there. But again, the overpenetration rework did get a bit bugged. So it's basically giving you double damage versus what it should at only 5%. And then you have all these other changes here as well to the dailies and feats. Again, if you want more details on that, check my previous video out where I covered the huge Barbarian changes. They are pretty big, pretty significant, giving some raw damage boosts. So let's quickly jump to the Rogue and focus on exactly what got changed there. First of all, the Bloodbath daily power, just a 200 magnitude increase. It is very much a single target ability as you're just jumping between enemies if there are multiple of them, but you still only deal the maximum 2000 magnitude. Versus something like Whirlwind, you hit 10 guys, that's essentially 4500 magnitude. Has its uses and can give you damage immunity, which is actually pretty cool. Otherwise, Dazing Strike, they changed it up a bit, so it is now always a cone attack. And the added stealth effect is just to increase its damage then to 450. It also now properly clarifies that it does provide a combat advantage granting effect. It always had that, but now it's in the tooltip. The Death Strike encounter, that's just got a 100 magnitude increase up to 800. That's decent. I love the power for its mobility and its teleport just right behind the dude. Will make it a little bit more competitive then. Still not such a great stealth effect though. That is more for PvP, I guess. Otherwise, back to Whisper Knife. They changed the Blitz encounter power to have more damage. Higher magnitude, but I still don't see it being as competitive versus Smoke Bomb and Path of Blades if you're using Shadowy Opportunity. And then Razor Action, that got fixed. So it can now critically hit, and it's an area of effect attack rather than just hitting one enemy. Useful, but again, only in multi-target. From there, let's jump to Enchanters Hex. What have they done with that and how it is now completely busted on a wizard. So this insignia bonus has been changed to just deal 75 magnitude damage to your target when you use a control encounter power or daily power. That's it. These are his notes on it. It's reworked to be 75 magnitude. Most can trigger it only once, some exceptions, but should trigger the bonus on all targets that you hit with like an area control power. Class mechanics that are control effects like Wizard's Chill and Ranger's Grasping Roots should not trigger this bonus. Artifacts, companion, player bonus powers, and non-player powers should not trigger this bonus. So that's also including mount powers. And the bonus can hit targets regardless of control immunities now. And they've gone and done some updates here with certain classes, so that Chains of Blazing Light, Bard Duet, Bard Dancing Light, and Paladin's Burning Light are considered like control powers to be able to trigger it. I went and specifically tested this, and I can confirm it is a 75 magnitude damage hit that will benefit from the majority of your stats and damage bonuses. For example, these ones right here, and it's pretty interesting. It scales with your intelligence. It's considered magical damage. So the more intelligence you have, the more magical damage boost you get, the more damage your Enchanter's Hex is going to deal. So it's going to favor those magic damage dealers. Additionally, there are some things which won't affect it, like the Ray of Enfeeblement magical damage boost, which should increase the damage of those magical and projectile attacks, but that doesn't. So there's going to be a lot of certain bonuses which won't affect it and certain ones that will. Like class powers like Arcane Stacks, Control Momentum don't affect it either. But things like your Swath of Destruction, Rage of Flames, Neverwinter Night, Minsk, Batiri, Offense Stats, Bloodlust all do affect it. And there's got to be a lot more you gotta test out. In conclusion, it's going to deal a lot of damage, and in most cases pretty close to a true 75 magnitude damage power. They also made it so it can now actually critically hit, so that's like an 80% damage buff, so it's going to be dealing more damage than what we had with the previous version at only 100 magnitude that could not crit. About a 35% damage increase. That's pretty big. So what this means, if you go to, for example, a wizard, Icy Rays, stun, add 75 magnitude to it. Chill Strike, stun, add 75 magnitude to it. Same with your repel, same with your entangling force. All these powers are control and are going to have extra 75 magnitude added to them. Same with Icy Terrain. It's even an area of effect power with control. It's going to hit all enemies with that extra 75 magnitude plus the normal 400. You're going to have daily powers like Arcane Singularity. It's going to hit for an extra 75 magnitude. Same with Oppressive Force, Ice Knife, Ice Storm, and Fury Assimilation. All are control powers. You can switch over to Arcanist. They have a bunch of control powers too. Steal Time, Arcane Tempest, Maelstrom of Chaos. But it will no longer trigger on like Ray of Frost or anything related with Chill. However, Wizard is very broken with Enchanters Hex. I've only so far tested Wizard, and I will test out the other classes, and we can see these are my test results on all the powers. You may very immediately notice some real broken things. It's hitting twice whenever you use critical conflagration. This is on Thaumaturge. So you have this ability right here, which will allow you to trigger Smolder every time you critically hit. And for some reason, that triggers Enchanter's Hex when you use a control power, at least on most control powers. It doesn't work on Icy Rays and doesn't work for your shield. You can see that again here. The even more broken thing about this is they said they made it so that most powers would not multi-proc it, and well, they kind of broke Arcane Singularity. This is now, when it critically hits, going to hit the target 23 times with Enchanter's Hex on each hit. Even in multi-target, I checked in the Xemnid's Reliquary against the boss. Is it working like it is against this dummy? It is confirmed. And I checked in like the Skirmish, Kessel's Retreat against the first wave of enemies. It is as well, proccing just an insane amount. Have a look here. Enchanter's Hex hit 85 times against just a group of like 5 enemies, I believe. Yes, killing 5. So that was just nuts. It dealt more damage than Glowing Flames, which is already bugged to work with Arcane Singularity where it shouldn't. So you're basically doubling the damage output of this daily power with Enchanter's Hex, which is kind of ridiculous. That's why I say it's broken. And then even in single target, you can go and use this ability. I used it against the Minotaur, Examiner's Reliquary, and it's still hitting 23 times with Enchanter's Hex. This means it makes Arcane Singularity basically a 3000 magnitude daily power when you use your critical conflagration. You can read through other examples here, and also Oppressive Force is going to hit 5 times, and each time it's going to hit with Enchanter's Hex. It already does hit pretty powerfully with your Shatter, because that's going to trigger each time on this hit if the enemy is control immune. But now with Enchanter's Hex, even against just groups of enemies, you have 375 extra magnitude on this power. But that's nothing compared to Arcane Singularity having 1725 extra magnitude on this, essentially giving it a 2925 magnitude. This power is already ridiculously broken. Using it here, you can see all those crits, and there you go. That's all the damage numbers. Then most of them are Enchanter's Hex, and then the other ones are Glowing Flames. You see the log right here. There you go, Enchanter's Hex, 97 hits. Yes, that is just insane. I mean, Glowing Flames is already insane with 139 hits. So yeah, if they implement this, they're effectively doubling the already most powerful multi-target daily power that Wizard has. That this would just end up being, yeah, crazily broken. It should not be hitting Enchanter's Hex that many times, and also getting all these double hits on all the powers, essentially giving every single control ability when you're on Thaumaturge using critical conflagration, because why would you not use that ability anyway? So every single control power hitting Enchanter's Hex twice with that means you're gaining an extra 150 magnitude. Unlike Repel, that's now 730 magnitude. Entangling, 750 magnitude. Chill Strike, 810 magnitude. And Icy Rays only gets a measly 75, oh no, and goes up to 925 magnitude. Just with this one insignia bonus alone, Wizard is getting a boost of 525 magnitude for every rotation they use on their encounters. That's like having a 5th encounter power. In terms of Arcanist, that seems fairly balanced, although for some reason Maelstrom of Chaos will trigger Enchanter's Hex twice, just because it applies its control effect twice with that knockdown for some reason. So in terms of Wizard, yeah, there are a lot of exceptions. It is intended again to only trigger Enchanter's Hex once, with some known exceptions. Well, I hope these exceptions are now known, as I think it's a little bit powerful that this insignia bonus would add 75 magnitude times 2, 150 magnitude to every single Wizard control ability. Ultimately, that's it. Good to see they're still making changes, but they gotta be very careful if they want to maintain class balance. Things like this get a little bit out of hand. I would have expected them to at least check these things with their new Enchanter's Hex. Maybe they did, and this is like a version before they fixed that multi-procking that they ended up pushing out now. Maybe it's a mistake, but again, this is all preview server, all testing. Just wanted to give you guys a heads up. Sure, it may very well get pushed to live on Thursday, who knows. Special thank you once again to all of these channel members for their added support, and we'll see you guys around. Goodbye for now.